Hello all, welcome back to Six Path Weeb, your destination for anime deep dives, alternate realities, and fan-driven storytelling. Today, we continue our journey with part 2 of our fanfic, What If Naruko Had Been a Silent Genius? A reimagining of the Naruto universe where a single change reshapes everything. Disclaimer. The content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's get started. So, how is she? Danzo doesn't respond right away. His tired, aged eyes seem distant, lost in thought. Hiruzen waits patiently. His face remains calm, though he knows Danzo well, his old teammate, a man who has served as his advisor and overseer of intelligence matters in the village for many years. Despite the passage of time leaving Danzo weakened and partially blind, his influence remains substantial. While rivalry lingers beneath the surface, both elders understand that this dynamic keeps them careful and strategic in their decisions. Hiruzen is well aware of Danzo's covert operations, just as Danzo is familiar with the Hokage's visions for the village. She has potential, Danzo finally speaks, his tone cool. She's promising. Another Itachi in the making, though perhaps not quite as advanced as Kakashi was at her age. Danzo adjusts his stance. But if she were to be trained properly, honed with precision and discipline, she could become a truly remarkable kunoichi. Even greater than Itachi, Kakashi, and Minato combined. Hiruzen lets the idea settle in the air, the room quiet except for the wind brushing against the window pane. I can't allow that, Danzo, he replies. You know why? Naruko needs to grow under guidance meant for her current stage. She'll be assigned a Jonin instructor once she graduates to Jonin. That's how she'll learn. It never hurts to start early, Danzo murmurs. For all we know, she may already be progressing beyond our expectations. Let me take her under my wing, for the benefit of the village. That's precisely my concern, Hiruzen answers, his eyes focused. The well-being of our village is crucial. But it should never come at the cost of the individual shinobi. Naruko deserves the chance to grow on her own terms, guided but not molded into something she isn't ready for. Danzo's voice lowers. So this is about loyalty? Hiruzen nods gently. It always has been. There's no further argument. In any case, consider it, Danzo adds as he turns to leave. Give her to me, and I promise, you won't regret it. I'll help her become someone who'll make the whole village take notice. The door shuts quietly behind him. Hiruzen exhales deeply, eyes turning to the quiet view outside. I know that, old friend. I know that all too well. The world of shinobi is built on tradition and structure, what some call the system. It governs quietly, present in every mission scroll, every council meeting, every lesson taught in the academy. Some claim it doesn't exist, others know it too well. Hiruzen has helped shape it, has worked within its framework for most of his life. The system can't be changed easily. It's deeply rooted. Sometimes. I wonder if I made the right choice accepting this role, he admits softly. At the academy. Class, you're dismissed early today, Iruka announced, already bracing himself. Cheers erupted across the room. But, Iruka added quickly, silencing the excitement. You will still be completing an assignment over the weekend. Textbook, page 36, questions 8-2. The door slid open abruptly. Iruka, ever alert as a trained chunin, had a kunai ready in an instant. He relaxed only when a breathless colleague appeared in the doorway. Iruka. It's Mizuki, he's turned against us. Iruka's eyes narrowed. Class, you're dismissed. Head home immediately, and stay inside for the evening. He rushed out with his fellow shinobi, urgency in every movement. The classroom was left in stunned silence. Whispers spread among the students, the idea of a teacher turning against the village foreign and unsettling. Even the more reserved students like Shino reacted quietly, showing clear signs of surprise. But no one took charge. It was dismissal time, and the authority had left. Among the group, 2 students shared a knowing glance. They slipped out quietly, not wanting to draw attention. Their bags rested on their shoulders like any other day. They made their way out of the academy grounds without a word. Once they were far enough from the school, Sayuri finally broke the silence. Aren't you going to do anything about it? Her tone was calm, as though asking about homework. Naruko didn't respond right away. Why should I? She said after a pause. It's not my place. I'm not even a Jonin yet. Sayuri wasn't surprised. This was typical of her childhood friend. Naruko was thoughtful, deliberate, and not easily rattled. She never jumped into matters beyond her role, and although some interpreted her attitude as distant, Sayuri knew better. Naruko simply believed in doing the right thing the right way. It was a trait that some admired, while others misunderstood. But, Sayuri said softly. Naruko glanced at the sky, her eyes calm. It's best if the situation is resolved quickly. That would be ideal. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. Sayuri appreciated that sincerity. Naruko was loyal, she just didn't show it in loud or obvious ways. That made Sayuri wonder. Naru. Are you a courier or a tsundere? Naruko blinked, confused. Excuse me, what? As expected, word has spread regarding the Mizuki incident. While not much effort was made to completely conceal the event, certain rumors and outcomes have been circulating within the shinobi community. For those with ranks below Chunin, such as Jinan or even academy students, it's not considered particularly significant. Delegated responsibilities exist at various ranks, allowing shinobi to act independently under certain circumstances. However, Jinan remain under the supervision of their Jonin instructors, placing them at the lowest level of authority and responsibility, rendering them ineligible to act in such situations without guidance. Chunin, on the other hand, operate independently and are entrusted with more serious responsibilities. When news of Mizuki's betrayal surfaced, it was primarily the Anbu and higher-ranking Jonin who responded. Not all Jonin are tasked with mentoring Jinan squads, which allowed for a swift and effective response. The presence of the Anbu, Konoha's elite Black Ops unit, also played a key role. Their training and specialization prepare them to manage the most complex and sensitive assignments. Still, the village's ranking system isn't flawless. According to shinobi law, as stated by the Hokage, rank does not grant someone unrestricted authority. Orders must be justified with clear reasons and objectives. A Jonin cannot issue commands to a Chunin or Jinan without proper cause. Unfortunately, some individuals misuse their rank, believing it grants them unchecked authority over those of lower status. Such conduct is unprofessional and can lead to disciplinary action, including formal investigation and consequences enforced by the Hokage. Ultimately, the Hokage holds the highest authority and is the only individual with the jurisdiction to issue directives to all shinobi. His word serves as law, and disobedience may result in serious repercussions. While there is a formal process for addressing misconduct among shinobi, cases involving serious breaches, such as Mizuki's, require specialized review. Hiruzen Sarutobi furrowed his brows as he reviewed a report presented by one of his Anbu captains. Although Anbu captains do not hold the highest rank overall, their position within a specialized division places them just beneath the upper echelon of the chain of command. At the moment, however, their rank is not the primary concern. Orochimaru. It appears my former student has made a move, Hiruzen murmured, eyes scanning the report with deep concentration. In truth, Orochimaru had likely been acting behind the scenes for some time, possibly embedding agents within Konoha's ranks without detection. Anbu. A figure emerged from the shadowed corner of the room, silent, masked, and composed. This individual, one of the village's elite, knelt respectfully before the Hokage, awaiting orders. Bring me Shikaku. Yes, Lord Hokage. With swift precision, the Anbu vanished as quietly as they had arrived. Within minutes, a knock sounded at the door to the Hokage's office. Enter. You called for me, Lord Hokage? Came the voice of Shikaku Nara, whose usual tone carried a hint of weariness. Despite his casual demeanor and slouched posture, Hiruzen respected his intellect immensely. Yes, it's regarding our current situation, Hiruzen replied firmly. Shikaku stepped inside, his appearance characteristically disheveled. He wore a gray fishnet shirt beneath his special Jonin vest, along with a weathered leather coat. Though he bore the marks of age and experience, his mind remained as sharp as ever. If Anko and Ibiki were involved last night, I'm guessing things got complicated, Shikaku remarked with mild sarcasm. They were, Hiruzen confirmed with a nod. According to the report, Mizuki has connections to Orochimaru. Shikaku raised an eyebrow. That's not good. If your former student is involved in anything concerning the village, we need to be cautious. He knew the implications of such a connection all too well. I plan to bring in a few individuals for questioning, Hiruzen continued. However, I'm concerned this may stir up suspicion. That's why I'm assigning this task to you. Handle it discreetly and thoroughly. Shikaku straightened slightly, his casual demeanor replaced by a more attentive expression. It's a bit of a hassle, but seeing you take charge again makes it worth it. I've always been here, Shikaku, Hiruzen replied quietly, I simply haven't been steering the ship as actively. His gaze turned resolute. Act quickly. If anyone questions you, tell them it's for the village's safety. We can't allow lingering issues from the past to weaken our unity. Understood. Shikaku offered a rare salute before exiting the room. Hiruzen rose from his chair and walked toward the window, his eyes scanning the village that spread out before him. Konoha, despite its many strengths, was not a village defined by overwhelming military power like Iwagakure or Kumagakure. If war broke out between Konoha and either of those nations, the village would face a significant challenge. Yet, Konoha remained one of the most formidable shinobi villages, not because of brute strength, but because of the exceptional individuals it nurtured, individuals whose talents could at times become a double-edged sword. Orochimaru was one such example. Though the past held many regrets, now was not the time to dwell on them. As Hokage, Hiruzen was the pillar of the village. He would not let the shadows of past mistakes cloud the future. Whatever influence Orochimaru may have gained, Konoha would endure. And that endurance would begin with changes at the very top. Starting with Danzo. Sayuri awoke with a long, groggy yawn, her body sore and tired from the previous day's intense training. She enjoyed working out, usually at her own pace, but when it came to training alongside Uzumaki Naruko, that pace had to be tossed out the window. Naruko's energy was something else entirely. Sayuri couldn't blame her, though. She had chosen to train with her in the first place. She shivered slightly at the memory of yesterday's exhausting workout after their return from the academy. Apparently, she wasn't the only one still recovering. Naruko remained fast asleep, her chest gently rising and falling beneath a simple, plain white t-shirt, her usual sleepwear. Sayuri leaned in and lightly poked her childhood friend's cheek. Another poke. Sayuri wasn't sure what she was feeling, something fluttery, something new, but she couldn't stop poking Naruko's cheeks. Naruko finally stirred, blinking open her ocean blue eyes. She squinted slightly, noticing something odd. Sayuri, are you okay? Was yesterday's training too tough for you? What? Sayuri replied absent-mindedly, her finger still on Naruko's cheek. Her eyes spun with surprise, her cheeks flushing so brightly that the redness masked the slight nosebleed she hadn't even noticed. No, I'm fine. She added softly, her voice unusually airy. Naruko sat up slowly. She was just remembering that they had ended up sharing the same bed last night. Sayuri had insisted on staying in the same room, brushing off Naruko's offer to take the spare room or another apartment altogether. Naruko had thought nothing of it, after all, they were close friends. Sayuri was still poking her. You sure? You're really red. And could you please stop poking me now? Sayuri froze, her finger hovering just an inch from Naruko's face. Mortified, she pulled her hand back, her expression one of stunned embarrassment. She tried to say something but couldn't form the words. Excuse me, she finally muttered, slipping out of the room and into the bathroom. Naruko could hear the sink turn on, followed by splashes of water. She shrugged. Girls could be mysterious sometimes. Standing up, she started looking for a fresh change of clothes. Sorry for getting the sheets messy, Naru-ru-ru. Sayuri's voice trailed from the other room like a skipping record. Naruko paused mid-motion, t-shirt halfway off, and glanced toward the door. Did you say something, Sayuri? Meanwhile, elsewhere in Konoha, a certain book-reading jonin sneezed. Back in Naruko's apartment, Sayuri stood still, her bangs shadowing her eyes like a statue frozen in time. Naruko noticed the odd silence. Sayuri? Are you feeling okay? Sayuri suddenly trembled as though caught in a snowstorm and collapsed to her knees. Naruko's concerned frown deepened. Seriously, are you all right? I'm fine, Sayuri insisted, waving one hand while the other covered her nose. I wasn't thinking anything strange. Her flustered stammering was more than enough to raise suspicion, but Naruko decided not to press. Her concern slowly faded back into her calm, quiet demeanor. Oh, all right. Can you wait a moment while I change? Then we'll have breakfast together. Naruko reached for her shirt again. I'll be outside. Sayuri squeaked and darted out of the room, closing the door behind her with a sharp click. Naruko, slightly puzzled, tilted her head. Outside, Sayuri tried to calm herself down with a glass of cold water from the sink. This isn't good. This isn't good at all, she muttered. She leaned over the sink, forehead nearly touching the basin. She's just so unbelievably cute, she whispered, unable to say it aloud. They'd grown up together, spent countless hours side by side, and had always been close, but now, it felt different. The feelings were stronger now. More confusing. Was this what growing up meant? She didn't know if Naruko understood how she felt. Most likely, she didn't. Naruko was brilliant in many ways, but not always the most perceptive when it came to emotions. Sayuri groaned internally. Why did feelings have to be so complicated? Is it just me? Am I the only one who feels this way? She froze as realization struck. Wait. Does this mean I'm? Who's what now? Came Naruko's voice, startling her. Kya? Naruko blinked, clearly concerned. You're not acting like yourself today. Are you sure you're okay? On one hand, Sayuri was thrilled to hear the genuine concern in her voice. On the other hand, she was mortified to be caught off guard again. And no. I'm fine. Really? I was just surprised, that's all, she stammered, filling another cup with water. If you say so, Naruko replied, still eyeing her curiously. I'll start preparing breakfast. Do you want something traditional or more modern? Tea traditional, please, Sayuri answered after finishing her drink. All right. It'll be ready soon. Sayuri returned to the dining area, quietly taking a seat and slumping forward, head resting on the table. Another sigh escaped her. Just what was this strange feeling swirling inside her? And why did it feel so strong? Maybe it really was time to stop overthinking and start being a little more honest with herself. She raised her fist in quiet determination, eyes fixed upward. I'm doing it, she whispered. I will tell her. Or at least try. I will do it. Naruko peeked out from the kitchen, concern deepening. Sayuri. Maybe we should stop by the academy infirmary after breakfast. You're acting a little unusual this morning. Sayuri smiled nervously. It was definitely going to be an interesting day. All right class, today's lesson has ended. You are all dismissed. All the students noticed something unusual about Iruka-sensei. Ever since the incident involving Mizuki, whose departure from the academy had been the subject of quiet rumors, Iruka had changed. He didn't raise his voice as much, and instead of handing out detention, he now gave calm reminders. Even students who forgot their homework weren't assigned extra tasks anymore. Though none of the students said it out loud, they knew something serious must have happened. As for Mizuki, he had appeared suddenly one day as Iruka's assistant and left just as quietly. To most of the class, his presence, and absence, hadn't made much impact. But Iruka was clearly affected. Aside from his more relaxed disciplined style, there were other noticeable changes. Once energetic and constantly engaged, he now sighed more often, handed out less homework, and seemed quieter. The students couldn't help but feel that whatever had happened had left a mark on him. Naru, should we stop by Ichiraku's for dinner today? Asked Sayuri, Naruko's childhood friend, while Naruko was still packing up her things. The blonde girl adjusted her glasses with a small motion. I'm sorry, Sayuri. Hokage-sama asked to speak with me. Sayuri raised an eyebrow. Again? That's the second time this week. Didn't he give you some pretty cool gifts last time? Naruko nodded. Yes, he did. But this time I need to go right away. I'm not sure what it's about. You should go ahead without me. Sayuri crossed her arms, feigning a pout. No way. If you're not coming, it's not as fun. I'll go home and start dinner. Just try not to be out too late, okay? Naruko smiled, slightly guilty. All right. I'll make it up to you next time. Sayuri giggled and tapped her friend lightly on the cheek. Silly. You don't need to make it up to me. Just be safe and come home soon. With that, the two girls parted ways, Sayuri heading to their shared apartment while Naruko made her way toward the Hokage Tower, curious about the sudden summons. It wasn't unusual for the Hokage to speak with her, but twice in a week felt noteworthy. As she arrived at the tower, conveniently close to the academy, she noticed the usual receptionist was not at her desk. Perhaps she was on break or had been dismissed early. Reaching the Hokage's office door, Naruko took a deep breath, adjusted her glasses once more, and gently knocked 3 times. Come in, came the familiar voice from inside. Naruko stepped into the office. Naruko-chan, welcome. Please, have a seat. Naruko took her seat with calm composure, hands resting lightly in her lap. The Hokage studied her quietly before speaking. Do you know why I've called you here? No, Hokage-sama, Naruko replied respectfully. The Hokage puffed lightly from his pipe before setting it aside. To begin with, I wanted to ask, how is your training going with those jutsu I gave you? Naruko relaxed slightly. I've been practicing consistently. The techniques are very useful, especially for my future as a kunoichi. Is there one you've grown particularly fond of? Yes. The Shadow Clone Jutsu. Hiruzen's eyes brightened with interest. Oh? Why that one? Naruko answered thoughtfully. Even the standard clone jutsu is useful in close-range combat. With the shadow clones, I can create multiple versions of myself to confuse or overwhelm opponents. They're also excellent for scouting. I can send them ahead and gather information, then they report back. The Hokage nodded, visibly pleased. She hasn't uncovered all its potential yet, but that's actually a relief, he thought. Have you experimented with the other techniques? He asked. I have, Naruko confirmed. I'm still learning about elemental affinities. Water techniques feel the most natural to me, smooth and responsive. Fire techniques feel difficult to manage, and lightning is somewhere in between. I haven't tried wind or earth yet, so I can't say much about them. Excellent insight, Naruko-chan, Hiruzen praised. Continue practicing and refining your skills. Graduation is right around the corner, after all. Naruko nodded. The graduation exam would be a combination of written and practical tests, both of which required a strong grasp of ninja basics and techniques. Rumor had it that the exams grew more challenging every year to better prepare young shinobi for the real world. Now, the Hokage continued, I also wanted to ask you something else. About Mizuki. Naruko's posture straightened slightly. You've heard the rumors, I assume? Yes, she said carefully. We heard he acted against the village. But beyond that, it's mostly gossip. Hiruzen nodded slowly. I want to hear your thoughts. What do you believe happened after Mizuki was caught? Naruko considered her words. He was probably brought in for questioning. Likely by specialists in intelligence and investigation. If his actions involved sharing or attempting to share information with outsiders, that would explain the serious response. She paused. I assume he's now in a secure facility, far from the village. Hiruzen observed her carefully, then gave a soft smile and clapped his hands once. Well reasoned, Naruko. That's exactly right. The situation was serious, but it's been resolved. You have an impressive mind for deduction. Naruko blinked in surprise. Thank you, Hokage-sama. But is there a reason you asked me all of that? The old man gave a small, thoughtful nod. There is. It's part of something much more important. You see, Naruko, many people admire shinobi like us. But they often don't understand what it truly means to live as one. He paused to puff from his pipe again. We aren't always seen as noble. Unlike samurai, who are known for honor and discipline, ninjas are often seen as mysterious, secretive, even untrustworthy. And while those views are not entirely fair, they come from somewhere. We do work in the shadows, and we take on tasks that others cannot, or will not, do. Naruko listened silently, sensing the weight in his words. But, he continued, even in the shadows, a true ninja can have a heart. A true ninja stays loyal, not only to their village, but to the people they care about. When you wear your forehead protector, it's not just a headband. It's a promise. A silent vow to protect, to endure, and to never give up on your duty. He rose from his chair, moving toward the window. When you wear that symbol of Konoha, will you be able to carry its meaning with pride, Naruko-chan? There was a pause. My loyalty is unwavering, Naruko replied. I know I won't walk this path alone. I'll be walking alongside many others, each of us doing our best. I don't want to just be another name in the shadows. I want to be someone who brings hope to others. I will stay true to my path, for Konoha, and for the people I hold dear. Hiruzen smiled at her reflection in the window. Then you'll become a splendid ninja. I'm very proud of you, Naruko-chan. Outside the Hokage's tower, leaves drifted gently through the evening breeze, peaceful, graceful, and full of promise. You should be proud too, Minato. Kushina. Lord Hokage, all remnants of the former Root Division have been accounted for. The Anbu are rarely seen among the common villagers of Konoha, and for good reason. These elite operatives are recognized by their porcelain masks, standard-issue black and gray uniforms, and a distinctive tattoo on their left arms. The masks themselves serve as identifiers, often stylized to resemble animals. An Anbu wearing a dog-faced mask, for instance, is likely to be codenamed Dog. In contrast, members of the now disbanded Root Division, formerly under Danzo's control, differ significantly. They wore blank, expressionless masks with no identifying marks. Root operatives typically donned cloaks that concealed their uniforms, emphasizing anonymity and obedience. Kneeling before the Hokage now is one such operative. Though trained under Root's strict protocols, he has shown loyalty in the transition. This operative, known only as One, held the position of captain, akin in rank to an Anbu captain. "Well done, One," Lord Hiruzen Sarutobi said with a nod of approval. One was the commanding officer of all route members who had been trained under Danzo. The previous night, a team of Anbu operatives selected by the Hokage had located and entered Route's underground facility beneath the village. Each route member was given the opportunity to stand down peacefully. However, due to deep conditioning and unwavering loyalty to Danzo, many resisted. The confrontation was intense, but the Hokage's Anbu team ultimately prevailed. Although the plan was to discreetly detain Danzo during the mission, he escaped alongside several loyal followers. Nevertheless, many of the remaining route members surrendered and were detained. The captured operatives were questioned thoroughly, but the secrecy Danzo enforced was challenging to break. He had placed intricate seals on their tongues, preventing them from speaking any information related to him or route. Konoha's top sealing experts eventually removed the seals, a complex and mentally taxing process that required even the Hokage's own knowledge of Fuinjutsu. "The remaining members of route have pledged loyalty to you, Lord Hokage," One said calmly. "We await your command." "No," Hiruzen replied, shaking his head gently. "You will not serve as my hidden blade. That role is already filled by the Anbu. From now on, route will be repurposed as an independent unit. Your focus will shift toward international missions, intelligence, reconnaissance, and special operations. You will answer directly to me and no one else." One remained respectfully silent. "You will oversee Route's operations," Hiruzen continued. "You are responsible for their training and discipline. Assign leadership roles however you see fit, but know this, your service is now for the village and its future." "Yes, Lord Hokage," One answered, then vanished into thin air without a trace. The Hokage raised his hand and within seconds, another masked figure appeared at his side. "Sparrow," Hiruzen instructed firmly, "inform your team. You have a mission tonight. You'll be tracking down a snake, prepare accordingly." "Yes, Lord Hokage," the Anbu operative replied before disappearing as quickly as they arrived. A knock came at the door. "Come in, Shikaku," Hiruzen called. Shikaku Nara stepped inside, holding a sealed folder. "We've completed the questioning, sir. You'll want to hear this." Hiruzen accepted the file but motioned for a summary. "Long story short, your suspicions about Orochimaru were correct," Shikaku said, his usual laid-back demeanor now somber. "He had agents planted within our ranks." Hiruzen's eyes narrowed, urging him to continue. "Unfortunately, those individuals refused to cooperate after interrogation. Ibiki tried everything, ethically, of course, but we didn't get much. I had Inoiki attempt a mental scan, but he said it was impossible to access their thoughts." "Why is that considered good news?" Hiruzen asked with a raised brow. "Because it confirms something," Shikaku replied. "There are deliberate mental blocks, powerful ones, that even a Yamanaka can't break through. Orochimaru planned for this. But he made one mistake." He allowed himself a brief, sly grin before continuing. "We've quietly invited others we suspect for psychological evaluations. Behind one-way mirrors, hidden Yamanaka clan members are performing mental scans. If we find any similar mental blocks, we'll know they're connected and can question them properly." "Continue with the investigation," Hiruzen ordered. "We must understand Orochimaru's movements. The situation with Danzo is already complex. The last thing we need is the two of them aligning." "That's why I stayed," Shikaku said, a little more serious. "Before passing out, one of Orochimaru's known affiliates said something about an old hawk. I immediately understood." Hiruzen's expression grew sharp. "Danzo," he whispered. "Exactly. Danzo's relationship with Orochimaru may go deeper than just route. It might connect to something else entirely. Something bigger." "What do you mean?" the Hokage asked, already suspecting the answer. Shikaku responded carefully. "Have you ever heard of the Red Dawn?" "You mean Akatsuki?" Hiruzen said slowly. "Yes. According to the limited information we gathered, they may be targeting tailed beasts. And Orochimaru used to be one of them." Silence hung in the room. "Danzo's connection to Akatsuki might not just be a coincidence," Shikaku added. "We don't know how deep this runs yet, but if their interest is in Jinchuriki." Hiruzen's gaze turned thoughtful, then determined. "We must protect Naruko. Her safety is of utmost importance. But we cannot make obvious moves. If we pull her from the program without reason, it'll raise suspicion among Orochimaru's remaining informants," Shikaku finished for him. "We're not even sure how much influence Akatsuki holds. If Orochimaru was one of their members, then it's likely they're filled with powerful individuals. I understand, Hiruzen murmured. Still, something must be done. I'll leave that to your discretion, Lord Hokage, Shikaku said with a sigh. This is beyond my expertise. Thank you for the update, Shikaku. You are dismissed. Shikaku nodded and, while walking away, muttered, so troublesome. Chakra exhaustion isn't pleasant, far from it. And when someone with as much chakra as Naruko Uzumaki finds herself feeling winded, it truly means something. Naruko gasped for air, her breath coming in sharp bursts as her lungs struggled to keep pace with the amount of chakra she had been channeling. Chakra, though invisible, isn't infinite. It is a form of life energy that flows from within, cycling through the body in a process akin to breathing, used, filtered, then replenished. There's still some debate about its nature, but one widely accepted idea is that the chakra within a person isn't completely pure. Just like concentrated oxygen can overwhelm the body, so too can overly potent chakra cause problems. That's why control is so important. Naruko had been working on transforming that energy into ninjutsu, something she'd been practicing tirelessly for the past 5 hours. She knew she wasn't the most efficient when it came to ninjutsu. Sayuri, one of her peers, outclassed her in that area. It only motivated Naruko to train harder. It wasn't enough to focus on taijutsu, she needed a more balanced skill set. If she could add even one high-ranked technique to her abilities, it would greatly increase her effectiveness in battle. But now, after such intensive training, her body felt overheated. The human body, in some ways, is like a machine. Push it too hard, and it overheats. Past that, it breaks down. Unlike machines, however, the human body can't be simply repaired or replaced. With effort, Naruko stumbled beneath the shade of a tree in one of the public training grounds, a space used by both ninja and academy students. Though the area wasn't in pristine condition, it was more than adequate for her purposes. She reached into her bag and pulled out a large bottle of water, drinking it all in one go, impressive, considering it held nearly 2 liters. Refreshed, she leaned her back against the tree, closing the bottle cap and slipping it aside. She had done enough for today, more than enough to tire out an academy student, maybe even a fusion on. From her pack, she pulled out her glasses and placed them on her nose. Her hair clung to her face from sweat, which she quickly brushed back, droplets flying off. Her undershirt was drenched, so she removed it to cool off faster, sitting back in the shade with a sigh of relief. Then came voices. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wow. I didn't know Konoha had turned into a gathering place for beautiful people. Are you really doing this right now? Aw, come on. She's not your type? Naruko looked up, blinking behind her glasses as 3 kunoichi approached. Each wore her own unique style and carried herself confidently. The one on the right was the tallest and most animated. She wore a tan jacket over a navy ninja top and a short skirt paired with dark leggings. Her long brown hair was pulled into a high ponytail, and her bright eyes sparkled with mischief. Her nameplate was tied prominently on her forehead. The shortest of the 3 stood in the middle, a petite girl in a high-collared blue trench coat with a structured design full of zippers. Her socks rose past her knees, and she wore sturdy black shoes. Her short lavender hair was braided neatly away from her face, showing a calm, composed demeanor. Her headband was fastened as a collar. The third girl, about the same height as Naruko, had a gentle smile and soft features. She wore a purple sweater and a green vest, along with tan shorts and no leggings. Her light blonde hair fell freely under a white beanie adorned with a cute decorative pin. Her headband was tied around her upper arm. Naruko quietly observed them, unsure of their intentions. They were clearly Genin, judging by their lack of tuning vests. But why were they at this less maintained training ground? The tall girl was the first to speak, grinning widely. Hey, what's your name? Adjusting her glasses, Naruko answered politely, Naruko. Uzumaki Naruko. Nice to meet you. Nice name. I'm Aya, Hirano Aya, but you can call me Aya-chan, she said brightly. Thanks, Naruko said, confused by Aya's intense cheer. Aya leaned closer. Wanna be my bestie? Aya declared without hesitation. The shorter girl sputtered in surprise, and the one in the beanie giggled. The lavender-haired girl rolled her eyes and tugged her friend back. Easy, Aya. I'm Kato Yanaka, and don't mind her. She's just a little excitable. Aw, Kato-chi, you're no fun. Aya pouted. Right, and that's what you say about everyone you meet, Kato replied. The beanie-wearing girl smiled and stepped forward. I'm Manase Hibiki. It's a pleasure, Naruko-chan. Naruko nodded, still unsure how to respond to the trio's energy. You're all Jinan, right? Yup, Aya chirped. What about you? I'm still in the academy. Graduating in a few months. They blinked in surprise but quickly adjusted. Already practicing ninjutsu? That's amazing, Hibiki said with admiration. Some say young shinobi today aren't motivated, but you proved them wrong. So what kind of training were you doing? Aya asked, eyes wide with curiosity. Naruko hesitated but answered, just practicing the clone technique. Their expressions shifted slightly. Clone technique? Kato repeated, puzzled. It's simple, but I believe that if I practice it enough, it'll become second nature. That way, I can create clones reflexively in combat, Naruko explained calmly. The girls nodded, though they were surprised by the technical mindset. Satisfactory? That's so dull. Aya suddenly exclaimed, grabbing Naruko's arm dramatically. Life's short. You've gotta have fun and be bold. Naruko blinked. Bold? Exactly. Aya smiled wide, then paused, sniffing the air. Hey, you smell nice. Thanks, Naruko said, slightly caught off guard. Can I smell too? Hibiki asked with a playful grin. Naruko, still calm, gave a small nod. Hibiki leaned in and smiled brightly. Aya's right. Kato buried her face in her hands. Why is this my life? Come on, Kato-chi, join us. No way. Aya tugged Kato forward, and the smaller girl stumbled into Naruko. She was about to protest but paused when she caught the same pleasant scent in Naruko's hair. Okay. That's surprisingly nice. Now surrounded on all sides, Naruko found herself unsure what to say. She thought about asking them to stop but remembered what her grandfather told her when she was young, always be polite, especially to new friends. Just as Naruko accepted the situation, a familiar voice rang out. What is going on here? A new presence had arrived, someone Naruko recognized right away. Needless to say, Sayuri was not pleased to see her childhood friend being treated like a mere cushion. Having moved to a quieter spot more suitable for conversation, they split into two groups. Aya, Kato, and Hibiki sat on one side of the sofa, while Sayuri and Naruko sat directly across from them. The only thing between them was a small table used for their light cafe orders. The tension in the air was palpable, mostly coming from Sayuri's protective gaze directed at the three girls, who seemed intimidated by the younger girl's intense stare. Hello. Hibiki was the first to try to ease the tension, but she quickly sank back into her seat when Sayuri's sharp look locked onto her. Forget it. Even the usually cheerful Aya looked uneasy in Sayuri's presence. It was clear to the three of them that something was going on between Sayuri and Naruko, and what had happened earlier during training only made things more complicated. Still, Aya tried to start a conversation. Hi there. You must be Naruko's friend, she said cautiously, careful not to cause more upset. Sayuri's protective glare deepened, causing the girls to flinch. With her friends unable to speak, Kato bravely tried to address Sayuri. Miss Uchiha, she began nervously. Sayuri Uchiha, Sayuri corrected firmly. Kato swallowed hard and continued, what we did was wrong. We understand that. But we didn't mean any harm. Aya and Hibiki exchanged worried looks as Kato struggled to express their remorse clearly. Meanwhile, Naruko quietly flipped through a book Sayuri had handed her when they arrived, completely aware of the tension but confident that Aya, Hibiki, and Kato didn't intend any harm. So, Naruko spoke up to ease the mood. Sayuri, it's all right, she said gently, closing her book and setting it aside. Sayuri's fierce expression softened into her usual calm demeanor. All right. The three girls sighed in relief, but then Sayuri suddenly reached over and lightly grasped the blonde's collar, pulling her close. Their faces were just inches apart. You're hurting me, Naruko, Sayuri whispered quietly. Naruko's expression didn't change. Am I? Sayuri bit her lip, then slowly released her grip and looked away, lowering her head to hide her eyes. The girls noticed the change, but no one said a word. An awkward silence settled between them. Hibiki tried once more to break the silence. I think it's best if we go now. No, Naruko said unexpectedly, adjusting her glasses and folding her arms. I have some questions for you all, if you don't mind. Despite their nervousness, the three girls stayed. Naruko began with a simple question. As Jinan, what does your typical daily routine include? The question surprised them but also eased the tension. Aya, the most outgoing, Answered first. We train regularly. Specific types of training? Naruko asked, blinking curiously. We focus on chakra exercises and team building practice mostly. Why do you ask? No reason, Naruko replied. I just thought this would be a good opportunity to learn from more experienced ninja. Aya smiled softly. Well, what would you like to know? Naruko asked several questions about training methods and missions. The girls answered as best they could, and though their responses were modest, Naruko gathered useful information. Before they left, Aya said with a shy laugh, "See you again, Naruko." Once the girls left, Naruko and Sayuri were left alone in the quiet cafe. Even between these two normally reserved friends, the silence felt heavy. Naruko stared blankly ahead while Sayuri sat with her head bowed. Naruko noticed the tension and finally asked, "What's wrong?" Sayuri looked up briefly and said quietly, "I'm upset with you." Without another word, she stood up and left. Naruko remained seated, motionless, her mind adrift. She wanted to reach for her book, but her hands wouldn't move. She wished to follow Sayuri, but her legs felt weak. She was left alone as soft jazz played quietly in the background. 3 days later. Sayuri hadn't come home again. It had been 3 days since their disagreement, and Naruko hadn't seen her since. Thankfully, Sayuri still attended the academy, but she avoided sitting next to Naruko or talking with her as usual. Rumors began to spread among the other students, some suggesting they had drifted apart, others suspecting a disagreement. Naruko knew the truth was more complicated. There was a misunderstanding, likely tied to jealousy. She understood that Sayuri cared for her deeply, more than just a friend. Naruko regretted how she'd appeared to defend Aya and her friends instead of Sayuri, her lifelong companion. But why should jealousy arise over innocent conversation with new acquaintances? Was it because of the earlier incident in training? She wished she knew. Sitting alone once again in the cafe where it all began, Naruko was startled when the barista placed a steaming cup of coffee before her. "On the house," the barista said kindly. "Heartache can be tough, but a good cup of coffee helps." Naruko looked into the dark cup, her reflection barely visible. She sighed, taking a cautious sip before grimacing slightly. "Bitter," she murmured. Suddenly, a soft voice echoed in her memory, "You're hurting me, Naruko." Her frown deepened with sincere concern. She stood up, gathered her book, left a tip, and headed toward the door. She knew she needed advice. "And that's it, Hokage-sama." Hiruzen gently stroked his beard, surprised by how soon Naruko had come to him seeking advice about her personal life. He never expected this day to arrive so quickly. Now, how should he approach this? Clearly, he needed to be honest with Naruko and explain why her actions were problematic. But knowing her strong-willed nature, she would surely want to understand every detail. He sighed softly, perhaps he was getting too old for this. "A complicated situation indeed, Naruko-chan," Hiruzen murmured, stroking his beard once more. "I'll be honest with you," he decided, choosing to be as straightforward as possible, 99% of this is your responsibility. Naruko's calm expression turned to one of disbelief. "That much?" "Yes, that much," Hiruzen confirmed with a firm nod. "Then what about the other 1%? The Hokage waved his hand lightly. "That has more to do with who you are, but that's not truly your fault," he added quietly, almost to himself. "Have you tried to make things right? You two are very close, it's natural to want to mend things after a disagreement." Naruko shifted uneasily in her seat. "I have tried. But Sayuri. She's been distant, like there's a barrier between us," she admitted, her usually composed face now revealing vulnerability. "It feels like we're strangers." Hiruzen had heard many troubled words in his lifetime, but none struck him as deeply as these. He understood how important Naruko and Sayuri's relationship was, perhaps even more important than their roles as ninjas or their responsibilities to the village. They were a perfect pair, always trusting, always supportive, but even the strongest bonds can face challenges. Hiruzen knew disagreements would happen, but for it to reach this point was concerning. As Hokage, his primary duty was to protect the village and maintain peace. Yet, he was also an elder with a deep care for his family, his entire village. And Naruko was very much part of that family. He leaned back slightly in his chair, looking toward the ceiling of his office. At moments like this, he appreciated the wisdom that age granted him, wisdom he could share with young people like Naruko without sounding overly strict. "Tell me, Naruko-chan," he began, "what if you saw Sayuri-chan being comforted by 3 friends around your age, even if they were just talking?" Naruko blinked, tilting her head thoughtfully. Sayuri would never let anyone get that close. She's very protective. Hiruzen chuckled warmly. True, but she does make exceptions for one person. Naruko remained puzzled. You? Still confused, she looked to him for clarity. Naruko. You are intelligent, Hiruzen said kindly. No, you are truly exceptional. You and Sayuri-chan are among Konoha's finest. But unlike her, you sometimes struggle with doubt. He rose to his feet. Naruko-chan, it seems you could benefit from understanding more about values. Her eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Values? Like a person's worth? Their importance? Hiruzen nodded. Not in terms of money or things. The values I mean are those that come from the heart. Naruko listened intently, still unsure. Hiruzen smiled gently. Remember when I told you that ninjas have hearts, Naruko-chan? She nodded quietly. These values come from there, from kindness, loyalty, honesty, faith, patience, love, commitment, devotion, and friendship. While ninjas sometimes face difficult choices, it's important to hold on to these values as much as possible. You may not have shown all of them perfectly, but Sayuri-chan sees your loyalty, your dedication to the village. She sees your honesty, your genuine nature. She understands your faith, your belief in yourself and those you care for. She knows your kindness, even when you keep to yourself. She recognizes your love and your patience. She admires your commitment to growing as a ninja and your devotion to your studies. And she treasures your friendship, you two are truly the best of friends. But Naruko-chan, Hiruzen asked softly, do you know what her values are? Naruko's heart sank in that moment, not from fear, but from a deep feeling of realization and regret. She felt a wave of shame for not fully understanding Sayuri's feelings. Do you know her honesty? Her faith? Her kindness? Her love? Her patience? Her commitment? Her devotion? Her friendship? Hiruzen's words gently but firmly urged her to reflect. Naruko was so absorbed in her thoughts she didn't immediately notice Hiruzen's hand resting reassuringly on her shoulder. Naruko, there are two great paths you can take now. The first is to try and succeed. The second is to try and learn from your mistakes. The worst choice is to do nothing at all. She needed just that little push. Go now, Naruko-chan. Reach out to your friend and apologize. Without hesitation, Naruko stood and hurried outside. Hiruzen smiled quietly to himself. Sometimes, I don't envy the young. Hey! She opens her eyes and, to no surprise, finds herself face to face with her childhood friend. It feels unusual. Strange. Normally, she would be the one to start the conversation between them. So hearing Naruko speak first, trying to break the silence, feels odd even to her. The key word being trying, since she's not about to make it easy for her. I thought you'd be here, Naruko mumbles softly. This is your home, after all. That's right. Ever since their disagreement began, Sayuri has been staying in her old home for clear reasons. She watches Naruko standing quietly just inside her doorway. There's an unfamiliar look on Naruko's face, one she can't quite interpret. But one thing is clear, Naruko must have rushed here from somewhere, judging by the sweat gathering on her forehead and the slight breathlessness in her voice. For once, Naruko seems unsure of what to say. She swallows hard. A heavy silence fills the room. Come in, Sayuri says quietly. Naruko steps inside, slipping off her sandals and placing them neatly on the rack. Sayuri leads the way into the living room, with Naruko following silently behind. How would she handle this? This is the first time Naruko has felt conflicted by feelings she doesn't understand, strong and unfamiliar emotions. But one thing is clear, she wants to apologize. She will apologize. Sayuri sits down opposite Naruko, a table between them marking a clear boundary. Her quietness is a way of inviting Naruko to speak first, and Naruko understands. Sayuri, Naruko struggles again. It's not the apology itself that's difficult, so what is it? I. She takes a deep breath. I'm sorry. But she doesn't stop there. I'm not very sensitive, actually. Sometimes, I find it hard to understand how others see me. I have trouble socializing, making friends isn't easy for me. I mostly enjoy reading, I don't talk much, and I prefer quiet. I haven't been very thoughtful, and because of that, I hurt you. I caused us to fight. Naruko leans forward, nearly on the edge of her seat. I don't want this to continue. Sayuri, I know I'm not great at understanding feelings, but I want to try. I want to be more thoughtful, not just to you, but to others and to myself. I promise I'll listen more, I won't get distracted during important moments, I'll pay more attention to people, and I'll even share my cookies when the old man visits. It's hard to watch her like this, her usually calm and composed self, now unsure and vulnerable. It's almost touching. Naruko has always been a bit lonely. Before they met, she had no one to talk to except her books. Sayuri knows this. She understands that this made it difficult for Naruko to relate to others the way most do. It's not that she's uncaring, it's just a different way of experiencing the world. I'm sorry, Sayuri, Naruko says again, her shoulders visibly dropping. I'll do my best to change. I promise. Don't. Naruko looks up, surprised. Don't ever change. Suddenly, Sayuri moves toward her, catching Naruko off guard. She feels tears soaking into her shirt as Sayuri rests her head against her chest. Don't change. You might upset me or make me cry. But please, don't ever change. In that quiet embrace, Naruko realizes something important. Sayuri doesn't want her to stop reading or to become someone she's not. No, what Sayuri wants is the Naruko she's always known, the same thoughtful, quiet friend who's been by her side since they were little. Not some perfect, outgoing hero. Sayuri slowly pulls back, gently stroking Naruko's back until she calms down. When Sayuri falls silent, Naruko tries to speak again. Sayuri, Shh. Sayuri's soft voice muffles the words against Naruko's shirt. This isn't the time to talk. But my questions. About what? Your feelings? Our disagreement? Sayuri's voice is still quiet, her forehead resting against Naruko's. Naruko, you're smart. You know how I feel. And about us fighting. It wasn't your fault. I was just feeling jealous. But I want to answer you. Sayuri bites her lip, pulling away a little. Not yet, she whispers. I'm not ready to face my feelings just yet. My heart needs time. Naruko looks at her, understanding but unsure what else to say. Sayuri wipes away her tears, offering a small smile. I'm not ready to hear your answers right now, Naruko. Please, wait until we're older. She leans forward, their foreheads touching, noses brushing softly. For now, let's just be childhood friends, spending time together, sometimes hurting each other, sometimes fighting. Naruko closes her eyes, glasses slipping down her nose. All right. Good. Sayuri gently kisses her. The moment their lips meet, it feels like a gentle spark passing between them. The first touch is surprising, then comforting. The kiss lasts a few seconds, a new and tender experience for Naruko. She's read about kisses before, but feeling it herself is something else entirely, soft, warm, and kind. Slowly, Naruko opens her mouth a little, and they share a shy, gentle kiss. Sayuri's hand brushes through Naruko's hair, and Naruko feels a warmth spread inside her. Their closeness is new and a little exciting, but also safe. Sayuri sits on Naruko's lap, and they continue their quiet moment together. Naruko is amazed by how natural it feels, how much she trusts Sayuri. They stay like that for a while, quietly enjoying each other's company, knowing that whatever the future holds, they have this moment, and each other. Her hands gently hold Naruko's lips closed as she embraces her by the neck with a warm, steady grip. She senses Naruko's growing affection, feeling her hands begin to explore softly along her waist. A soft breath escapes her lips as she feels Naruko's gentle touch tracing her silhouette. Naruko, she whispers with a playful smile, I'm just as bold, so don't stop now. It's the first time she's spoken so openly since they began spending time together. Growing a bit more confident, Naruko's hands move with a tender curiosity. Encouraged, she leans in closer, hoping to inspire her friend's courage further, and it does. Naruko becomes more assured, her bravery shining through. She gently pulls at the loose shirt Sayuri wears, causing a surprised gasp. Wait, Naruko, oh. Her words are cut off by a soft, affectionate kiss. Then, with gentle care, Naruko moves to her collarbone. Sayuri wasn't expecting such tenderness and gasps softly in surprise. Naruko's lips trace a delicate path from neck to chin and back, leaving a warm, comforting touch. As their closeness grows, Naruko's strength supports Sayuri, softly guiding her down onto the tatami mats. Sayuri's fingers gently press into Naruko's back, her hands resting lightly in Naruko's hair. Their warmth combines, creating a peaceful harmony between them. Sayuri winces slightly when Naruko's lips brush against her own, but the moment is tender and full of connection. The mingling of their breaths and closeness is something both find deeply comforting. Their time together continues quietly into the morning. She's such a contradiction. For now, let's keep being the childhood friends who spend time together, support each other, and sometimes disagree. A big contradiction indeed. First things first, no, they haven't crossed any boundaries. Thankfully. If they had, she isn't sure how she'd look at Naruko or herself again. Her gaze shifts toward the other side of the bed where her childhood friend lies peacefully, fast asleep. She notices the state of their clothes, or rather, the looseness of them. Between all the hugging, pulling, and gentle moments, it's no surprise. Her hair is tousled, and her breath carries the familiar scent of Naruko's, comforting, really. I'm such a fool, she whispers to herself, cheeks flushed with embarrassment. Sayuri? Naruko's soft, sleepy voice calls out. Why yes, Naruko? Sayuri replies, a little startled. Naruko doesn't say much, her mind still waking up. After a moment, she quietly says, I'm hungry. With a small smile, Sayuri nods. Me too. Why don't you stay here while I make us some breakfast? Okay. What would you like? Oh, wait, I only have cereal and milk. Is it chocolate milk? It is. Then that's perfect. Just make sure it's warm. And with that, Naruko settles back down. Sayuri blinks a few times before sighing softly. Well, at least we're not arguing anymore. She's still a bit of a contradiction, a little jealous maybe, but it's all part of being close friends. Dear YouTube family. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel and stay tuned for more amazing content. Thank you all so much for your love and support, means the world to me. Much love. 6 Path Weeb.